Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. This is High Priestess Jamila. Hello, love and light. Merry meet or blessed be to y'all. I am here because I wanted to come and speak about narcissism from a different perspective. Okay, not from a victim's perspective. Okay, we're going to speak about narcissism from more of a logical, spiritual perspective. How half of the U.S. population ended up narcissistic, and why. Okay, so welcome to the channel. If you guys are new here, hit that subscribe button. I am a working witch, so if you guys need to speak to me about work, you can visit my Etsy shop. The link is below. So a lot of people, when they talk about narcissism, it's very difficult when you're talking about narcissism to not talk about it from an emotional hurt point of view. But when you look at narcissism and how narcissism is essentially, it's supposed to be looking out for self. Okay, narcissism is supposed to be where you are self-sustaining yourself. You don't care about nobody. You step on anybody to get where you need to get. But in reality, when you look at narcissism deeper, narcissism is actually indoctrination into self-harm and self-destruction. Okay, if you guys remember the story of Narcissus, which is where all of it came from, was a boy that was looking in the lake or a river, and I think his mother told him not to get too close, but he was so enamored by his own reflection that he fell in and he drowned. So narcissism is not something that people should be proud of, and it's something that we should understand why this exists in the first place. And so number one, I want to point out to you the chakras and development. So narcissism that you may experience later on in life can be created. It is absolutely created by your chakras developing, and as your chakras developing, these very traumatizing things happening to you, and so narcissists were not necessarily created by other narcissists. Narcissism is an indoctrination, actually. So your chakras start to develop probably as soon as you're conceived, in your womb, in your mother's womb. And so when you think about the system and the program and the programming that we all were indoctrinated in at some point in our lives, you can tell that these powers that be took over the minds of people and totally indoctrinated them. And then this is why we have the result that we have now. Okay, so the reason why people become narcissists later on in life, or either they display what is, because they don't even call it, I think that a lot of people on YouTube carry a lot of anger and a lot of resentment. So we don't necessarily call them narcissists. We say that they have narcissistic personality disorder. Okay, so there's a difference. Hey, Kendra, hello. You the only one in here. Goodness gracious. Hit that thumbs up for me. Appreciate it. So, and I started in on the discussion kind of fast. And so maybe I need to take it slow because, like I said, YouTube seems to take forever to send out my notifications because, I speak too much truth on this channel and I help way too many people. And when you are helping people, okay, that's when the narc demon don't like you. It's like, oh no, you can't be helping these people. The origins of narcissism, in my humble spiritual opinion, it comes from beyond this planet. Okay. And so we all know that we've had visitors on this planet. We know that we have different, types of beings on this planet. But, so they developed a system to program the minds of people. Okay. So this system was created to control. Narcissism is AKA mind control. Okay. And so yeah, there's a cute little story behind it, but in reality, that particular energy was used to control. Okay. So when you think about people that are narcissistic, typically they have a past history of either physical, spiritual, or mental abuse, or all of them. So a lot of narcs have been spiritually abused. A lot of narcissistic people, they have been through hell. Okay. And, it is because at the time that they were being developed, there were several factors that were traumatizing them. Now, many of us, because we have been programmed and indoctrinated, we don't see a problem with sending a 5-year-old child to be looked after by a complete stranger that you don't know. Okay, so narcissism actually, it can start developing at a younger age, but around the age of 5. And see, I know this with fact because I've observed children. I am a mother of 4, and my first 3 oldest children, they had all their shots, which was a huge mistake, and I sent them to public school. That is where your narcissistic induction and indoctrination is going to start happening. Because if you think about narcissism, the energy of narcissism is that of lacking a true identity because you don't know who you are. Because if you are experiencing narcissism within yourself that is coming from past trauma, it is very difficult to understand that it is coming from a hurt inner child. Okay, because at the age of 5, and then about 50 or 60 years ago, they started with preschool. So preschool, everybody started sending their children because it was free daycare. Everybody was sending their children to pay. Ekate, thank you. Everybody was sending their children to preschool. So it started out really traditionally. They didn't start sending when schools were first erected. They didn't start sending children to school until they were 8. There was no elementary school. There was just like high school. And then it got younger and younger. So they wanted to indoctrinate the children, which is us. Okay. I am a person that went to school, middle school, elementary school, middle school, right around the time when I was about 11 or 12. That was when they created middle school. Because remember, they used to have you in elementary school and then you went straight to high school. Okay, y'all, sorry about that. I had to get Jacob straight. He all of a sudden started running around the house. And it's like I told you, I'm not going to really get into the interdimensional beings that are controlling that whole thing. But what I can tell you is that the reason why half of the U.S. population, I would say at least half of the population, is and has been indoctrinated in narcissistic beliefs. Okay, they have been indoctrinated and afflicted by those beliefs. And so as parents for the past at least 100, 200 years without thinking and understanding. And you know what? So first of all, I want to say this to any parent that has sent their kids to school. I am not blaming you, because I sent my kids to school too. Okay, we didn't really have a choice at that point, but the consciousness has changed a whole lot, which is why, I could foresee the whole COVID situation, and I knew that eventually they would start shutting down schools and stuff. And it's not that I have anything against school. What I have against is that they're starting children too early. So when a woman gives birth and, they want you to bring your kid in to complete strangers with spirits and energies flowing through them, okay, they just expect people to just and so when I woke up and started realizing, what was going on, I was like, dang. And so this was something that I discovered, I think hardcore, like 8, 9 years ago. I just realized what was going on. And so it's not that it's necessarily anything wrong with school, it's what they're being taught in school. Because if you notice, the school system has been heavily under scrutiny because of some of the things that a lot of the parents don't want them to teach their children. And I believe parents do have the right to say, hey, and because it's a parental right. Okay. And I think that there are certain things that when you send a child that young at the age of 5, I remember going to school for the first time at the age of 5. I remember kindergarten, and there's a reason why spirits made me remember kindergarten, because there was a really, man, she was evil. I had an evil teacher, man. And it's like, why is this lady an elementary? Why is she a kindergarten teacher? She was a large Black woman, and her name was Miss Buckner. I even remember her name. Down at Bancroft Elementary. Witchy spiritual kids should not be, and I don't think any child should be, because I feel like all of us are gifted. But I believe that, first of all, schools can sometimes be a place of death. Schools can sometimes be a place of possession, where you will become possessed by other people's ancestors. So just think, you have a 5 or a 6-year-old that is dealing with all of that, dealing with all of the issues that an adult should be dealing with, because your child is going to school with other children. They have adult energy all around them, and your child is being subjected to that. Okay. Sorry, I'm over here trying to do dishes and Jacob over here playing. So that's how it happened. That's how it happened. Why it happened? We already know why it happened: to destroy the earth. If we don't, to destroy people of this earth, to take human beings out of their element. Okay. So if you are somebody that works with people that have suffered from narcissistic abuse growing up, whether or not it was with their parents, whether or not it was with their husband, and so a lot of my clients that have narcissistic parents, they're not just walking away and saying, hey, I'm going no contact with you. They're actually trying to heal the parent, which is nothing wrong with that, because I believe that narcissistic people can heal. I believe that they are extremely hurt people. The area that helps them actually deal with the trauma, and the important element of this is to study the chakras when they were developed. And see, you can do this on your own. You have to take a serious critical analysis of yourself and look at your chakras. And because narcissism is it's a very, very limited way of thinking, of being. So, you know, as somebody that suffered from narcissistic stalking, gang stalking, I can honestly say that I am not a victim. Okay, just to let y'all know. And the reason why is because there has to be some kind of solution for this issue, instead of just saying, you know, now, and narcissistic people are not necessarily evil. There's a difference between having narcissistic personality disorder and just being very evil. We all know that. Okay. So, you know, when it comes to that, especially because people can become narcissistic not from physical abuse, but they can actually become narcissistic from a parent not teaching them anything, not teaching them any lessons, not talking to them, letting them get away with whatever they want. Okay. And that doesn't mean that you have to, you know, you know, hold on a second. Jacob, honey, what? Sorry, guys, I'm back. Those interdimensional beings want to control your children. So that's why they told you that if you were a good parent, you would take your kids to complete strangers and trust them with them. So, you know, that's a part of the huge issue, and they know it, and we all know it. Now, of course, they'll say, well, I'm rich and my kid only goes to the best schools. It doesn't matter, but I will tell you that yes, some of you know, first of all, you know, I'm not putting down the field of teaching. You know, I'm not doing that. I want people to understand that, but I also want people to understand that when your kid is going to that school, they're going to a very unkosher, unclean place. It's unclean. Okay, that's just like, am I going to sit up here and go, oh, well, everybody at a hospital or everybody that works at the hospital is evil? No, it's just a very tragic, traumatic place where you're going to find a lot of sick people, dying people, and spirits. You're going to find demons. You're going to find demonic attachments and bad spirits that are attached to people at a hospital. So it's not the hospital, it's just that they're spiritually unclean and not kosher is the problem. And I keep using the word kosher because, you know, when you think about that, it's all about purifying yourself. And so a lot of people don't realize that when your kid goes to school and they come home, that's just like they going to work. So, you know, when schools were created and developed, it was also created by the Industrial Revolution. I'm sorry, not revolution. The industrial, you know, it was created. Schools were created by industry to create workers. So that's why they have them in school 8 hours a day. The average work day is 8 hours. And so that was what that was about. Okay. And so, you know, when you think about it, you don't know who is influencing your child and when they are so young. Because I remember, so I was talking about my older children. Let me just tell y'all my experience, and I will 1000% stand by all of my beliefs because I know that I'm right. My older three children, I sent them to school, and I noticed that you know, the school within itself, and it was, you know, I think the last school that I had, not the last one, but when we had moved to when we had moved to Kansas, their principal, in my humble opinion, was a narc, because I had to pull them out of school because the teacher basically was trying to stigmatize us because of stalkers, narcissistic stalkers, and mainly my mother, that was calling up to the school harassing people. So, and so I was like, look, I went through hell to get my family away, and then you're going to allow this entanglement. So a lot of the schools will allow entanglement, and they will say that it's healthy, but I would say that it's unnecessary. I would say that it's harmful, and I would say that each and every time, of course, we're all going to be challenged. Children are going to have disagreements, adults are going to have disagreements. Okay, so it's not that, but it's just that it's different, because when you notice in these schools, and when a child is being bullied at school, coincidentally, nothing is actually really done about it. So your children are being turned into narcs because they are afraid. They're in defense mode. Narcissistic people, the reason why they behave the way that they behave is because they have fears, they have phobias, and they also they're sort of like shell shocked. They're in fight mode because they're trying to survive. Again, especially if there was anything that was done to block the root chakra. Most of what, when you look at the indoctrinated belief system of society, most of what we are taught from the beginning blocks the root chakra. So this is the reason why there's a lot of poor people. There's a lot of people that are having a very hard time surviving. Their health is poor. They're not strong in their bodies. And the reason why is because the root chakra. So there's a lot of people walking around with a very damaged, and then not only the root chakra, we're always, when you look on Google about the chakras, they're always talking about blocked or unblocked. How about we look at it like this? Hijacked, possessed. Your chakras can be hijacked and possessed by a demon. Okay? I'm not looking at y'all chats right now. I'm standing up here about to load the recipes that I can fit in there. And I'm going to be doing the rest of them by hand. So if I don't answer y'all chats, I'm not ignoring you guys. I'm just multitasking. So a lot of people are trying to figure out what is wrong with the world, but what is wrong with the world is the fact that you don't control your own world. You're being controlled. A lot of people don't realize that they have the right of sovereignty. Okay? And you don't have to necessarily participate in that. They will force you, though, and they will look at you like you're a bad parent if you homeschool your children. But guess what? Jacob knows his ABCs. He knows how to write. He knows how to read. Okay? He knows math. Okay, so he's learned everything that he should at his age, and he's never been to school. A lot of people that are asleep on that, or either they are indoctrinated, don't realize that schools were actually set up to control you and to control your mind. It was almost like a tally. It was like, okay, we've got this amount of children, and so and again, if you are somebody that is a teacher, if you are somebody that is an educator, I am not disrespecting your craft in any way, okay? What I am simply saying is that demons roam, and they're roaming throughout those schools, and they do not sage schools. They don't. They're not saging. They're not. I know that for me, if my child is going somewhere, every day for 18 years straight. I'd like to have a priest go in there at least once a month and clear stuff out. They don't do that. Okay, they don't do that. So that's a part of the problem. Also with the hospitals, they don't sage, they don't bless those hospitals. They have chapels in a lot of the hospitals. They don't actually have it clean. It's all dirty, all of it, because it's got a lot of bad spirits attached, and then also corrupt people. I think what's interesting is the haunted schools. There's a lot of people that be talking about these haunted schools where they're all haunted. Okay, and they're haunted because these beings wanted to take over your kid's mind. And it would be different if it continued to be just reading, writing, and arithmetic. But there were teachers that were and principals of schools that were basically trying to induct their own personal beliefs onto other people's children. I know that for me, when my children were in school, they didn't want to see me walk up in there because I was definitely one of those parents that they heard from all the time. The one thing that I didn't like, and I complained about it, and the school didn't care, but I complained about them giving the kids too much sugar. I was very upset about that because every day the kids would come home and it just seemed like somebody had hit them with some nerve gas. And I was like, what is going on? And it may have not been the candy. They were actually giving kids candy at the school, not a cupcake, not a cookie, not a Rice Krispie treat, not a granola bar. They were actually giving the children hard candy every day after school as a reward. I didn't like that as a parent because, first of all, for a while I was sending my kids snack lunches because I did not want my kid eating some of the stuff that they were feeding the kids. So I would look at the menu, and if I didn't like it, I would send my kids for the sack lunch. Okay? That's just like if your family don't eat beef, or if your family don't eat chicken, which this is just an example. Okay, then you're going to pay attention to the menu at your kid's school, and there may be a reason why your bloodline doesn't do that. It may have something to do with your bloodline. I know that for me, the reason why I didn't want them giving the kids candy is because Daniela had just turned 5 and Deja was 6. When Daniela first went to school, my baby could read and my baby could write. I noticed that she began to degress, and then so I'm gonna tell y'all something. It was disgusting, and I snatched my kids out of that school immediately because I felt unsafe, because I felt like they were already trying to indoctrinate, and literally it was kind of like, when you know your child and you send your child, and Danielle's always been smart as a wit, always, okay? When you just know your child, and so you send your kid to school, and the next thing you know, they'll be trying to stick them in some kind of special class. And I was like, well, she's only in kindergarten, so that's a money game because they get more money for those kids that they get more money for the kids with special needs. Okay. So, I'm not down with the, destroying the minds of kids for a scam so that you can get some extra money, because those kids are going to have to carry that with them for the rest of their lives. So the damage came from, some of the decisions. And you know what? I want to say to y'all that these things can be reversed. I have been healing my family. I've been healing my children. It's not to say that they can't be reversed. I'm not saying this to bring you fear. I'm just trying to make you understand or what is what I feel is going on, and I feel pretty good about what I'm talking about. Okay, so that is how all this whole narcissism thing came into play, because the children were not cared for and looked after by their mother. Now, we all know that different mothers have different personalities. So there's a lot of mothers, they like, child, I'm about to drop this kid off, I got to go. So I get it. I totally get it. I'm not degrading or downing anyone as a mother. I don't want y'all to take it this way. But because it wasn't our fault, it wasn't the narcissist's fault, and it wasn't our fault. It was nobody's fault. At some point, we're going to have to stop blaming each other and start realizing that there is a solution to all of these problems. Okay? Kendra said it was a living hell going through all of the gang stalking as a single woman. I can't imagine how single mothers get through it. Load. Well, this gang stalking is definitely a spiritual thing. And the reason why is because for you to get gang stalked, it's got to be something special about you. You know what I'm saying? It's something that makes you stand out. And so, that's why you get the group gang stalking, because you're standing out amongst the crowd. And see, that's another thing. I don't believe that schools necessarily teach children individualism. They're teaching them a cookie cutter thing. Because they're trying to get them ready to go out and get jobs and work. Okay. And so everybody doesn't raise their child or their children to go out and get a job. Everybody doesn't do that. There are some people that raise their children because, maybe they have a family company, maybe they, and so there's nothing wrong with that, for us to think that this is the community, because schools are not the community. Sure, schools can bring the community together, but that, unfortunately right now, that's not what we're doing. So I think people need to take a step back, and they need to take a look at what it is that they're dealing with, and realize that, your children are being persuaded and influenced by people. And so the way that it's, to my understanding, I believe that everybody's chakras evolve anywhere between 1 to 7. Every 1 to 7 years, the chakras are developing. Some people's chakras develop and change and evolve at different rates. So when you think about your child, being influenced by certain energies, by the time they're 14 years old, who is your child? Do they even know? Do they even really know who they are? Or are they trying to be someone else? See, the whole thing with narcissism, that's why the narcissistic man was looking in the mirror, because he was looking in the lake, because he was trying to figure out who the hell he was, and he slipped. So narcissism, when you think about it, at the base of it, what I feel the vibrations coming from the narc demon is to get you away from your identity, so that you won't know who you are. And so if you are a 14-year-old kid that has no idea who you are, then you're going to continue to develop. And then that's how we ended up with so many people, because, and I'm gonna be honest with you, the narcs are the sacrifices too. They are, because narcissism is not anything that's going to give you anything to survive. If anything, you won't survive, because you don't know who you are. That's very, very dangerous, for you to have such an identity crisis. And I think that that's what a lot of people don't discuss when it comes to narcissists. And I think that it is because I think narcissism should be called removed from self, because that energy removes you from yourself. And then when you're in school, you see all these people and they look different from you, and you're thinking, well, who am I? And then also at the same time, a lot of these kids are not getting what they need from at home because the parents are too busy. They're working. Okay. And some parents are working 16-hour days. You know, so we need to start paying attention, paying closer attention to what it is that we're doing. And if whether or not you have an understanding of what I'm saying or not, maybe there's only going to be a small percentage of the population that is going to jive with what I'm saying. Now, most of us, my children, I was what was I making, like 15 an hour with some of my jobs, and then I had jobs, I would work odd jobs here and there. But I mean, to understand that right now the world has already evolved. It's not evolving, like it is already evolved. Okay. So considering that, you have to be careful, and you really have to pay attention to who your kid is being influenced by, because I have done more readings for mothers of teenagers, and they'll ask, I have mothers that ask me about their children. And the one thing that I notice is almost like this demonic figure that is at the school. And see, the schools, they can't control and moderate if it's a demon, if it's a hybrid, if what kind of entity it is. They just kind of throw all the kids in there together. And so your kid could be acting weird, and then you look at the cards and you see this demon that shows up that's literally, following the kid around school, with this demonic energy. And your child's behavior can be changed for a very long time unless you know what to do about it. And so you'll just assume, oh, my kid is just bad. And it's, you have to pay attention to what's going on and what's influencing your child. I mean, when you think about it, if grown people can be influenced, if grown people can be influenced and subjected to peer pressure, then a kid can. Okay. And so narcissism hurts both the narc and then also I don't really think of people that the narcissistic people attack as victims. Personally, I have removed the narcissistic demon from people. Their root chakra becomes codependent on that energy. And because, again, when you think about narcissists, they are looking for supply, they're looking for energy. The reason why they need energy is because the root chakra is completely taken over. And so if your root chakra is being afflicted, and they are doing a lot of root chakra work on everybody worldwide, so y'all got to be careful, then what will happen is that the root chakra is like, it's almost like it's almost like where you started. You know what I'm saying? It's like a starting point. And so if your root chakra, which is located at the base of the spine, is not getting energy, which is called key energy, that's what they call it, in is it Western spirituality, it's called key. And it's energy that needs to flow up. So many of you guys already know, me and my son have been experiencing weird headaches, me and my older son, not Jacob. But I feel like universally there's a lot of people that have just kind of been kind of headachy, kind of, and that is because your crown chakra, you're not being fed. The energy is being somehow siphoned. And again, there's all different alleyways that they use, but the source of it, like I told you guys, is somewhere between the moon and Mars. And that's kind of where they hang out because they can't get into the Earth's atmosphere. And these are the ones that we will never see on Earth. Everybody thinks that Earth is just a place where everybody, you know, they even said Earth was flat, like it was some kind of landing pad or something. And that is not what's and you know what? I don't know if the Earth is flat or not. I believe that it's round personally. But everything that's in the solar system does not enter Earth's atmosphere. Okay, when you think about the planets, they are living and they are living, the planets are like living gods, including Earth. So, you know, they are doing this, and when the confusion, because people are confused and burned out, they're burned out. They have used all of whatever they can has been sucked dry. And yeah, narcissistic people, they do need to fill that void. How to do it? I mean, it's called healing. I'm a healer, so you know, everybody has a certain percentage of narcissism. It's healthy to be a little narcissistic because then if you you know, because then if you just let people run all over you, and see, that's not what empaths do. I am an empath, and I'm a bad ass empath. You know, because I'm an in, you know, I just, for me, I say what needs to be said because it needs to be said. It needs to be communicated. So we don't have to go and cower and be afraid when we know that we have the solution and the power to change these things. Okay, and things are changing actually. Um, you know, once we get past this election and everything, which, you know, I just wanted to come on here and talk about that real quick to say how and why. And it's all about indoctrination, you know, in a belief. Most narcissistic people, they really are not harmful to people. They just say a lot of disparaging things that could hurt your feelings. But when you think about it, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt me or never hurt you. So you can't allow words or spells to hurt you. Now, if you've got a narc that's doing some stuff that, you know, then that, okay, so people are getting narcissism confused with pure evil. So some people are just pure evil, has nothing to do with narcissism. Narcissistic people are broken and they do need help. So a lot of people will say, well, narcissistic people can't change. They can't change. It's not about them changing, but it's about them healing. And you can tell when, you know what I'm saying, the healing process, because as soon as any kind of healing comes up, the demon comes back and tries to reopen all of the wounds. So I'd say that the narcs are not necessarily evil. It's the sinister people that try to reopen the wounds that are healing. Because narcissistic people, they just need to be healed. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. That's one of the reasons why that's why I had a run-in with them, because previous to that, if you want to say that narcissistic people can't change, then you're just going to kill off the whole half of the population, which is coincidentally what they're doing. Okay, coincidentally, that's what they're doing. So rather than, I think people just need to open up their eyes to what's actually going on. And a lot of spiritualists like me, you know, when I say certain things, they'll misunderstand me. They'll say, she just stupid, she desperate, and and it's like, no, hun, I am speaking from a perspective that I'm supposed to, because the latter would be allowing that demon to persuade you to go out and kill somebody or hurt somebody. Hey, Jen. And we don't want to kill narcissistic people. We want to help them because those are half of the population that they're trying to kill off. But really, to be honest with you, it's not their fault that they are the way that they are. And just killing something, or, I feel like these people are under possession and under mind control. Very simply, they could possibly use some planetary work. Um, Medication ain't going to do nothing for them because it's just going to suppress them even more. Narcissism was created by being suppressed and being scared and being told that if you don't follow the indoctrination, that something's going to happen. Now, somebody like me, I've been given like a lot of, there's been times when a lot of times I was threatened because I wanted my independence and freedom from all of the indoctrination. Okay. And so, they will get very threatening. You cannot be afraid if you are I think I would say that after I got out of the relationship with one of my exes, I was probably like maybe 30 to 40% narcissistic. And the reason why is because I had shell shock. It was a very abusive relationship, and a lot of fighting, a lot of threats of violence, and just a bunch of stuff. And so, for me, because when you are going through things like that, it's bitterness, it's hopelessness, and you can't feel that way, because if you ever get to that point to where you feel like you can't even save yourself, and to the point where you can't love yourself, because narcissistic people, that extreme over absorbent self-love is not real love. Again, when you think about narcissism, we are actually dealing with self-hatred. Okay, so it's not something that to where narcissistic people need to know that they are in danger. This is why a lot of your narcissistic parents, what's the first thing they do? They go to the doctor to get blood pressure medicine. They have heart disease. Their heart is going to continue to deteriorate at a fast level if they don't wake up and ascend and change. It just is. I saw it. I saw this the writing on the wall where it says evolve or die. And so, it is what it is. I think that what it is it's the elimination of that energy off of the planet. But that doesn't mean that the person that is afflicted by a demonic entity has to die. I have probably done thousands of exorcisms on people I'm pretty sure that I've done thousands, probably, I'd have to add it up and tally it up for different people. And none of them died. They're all alive and well and doing great. So you don't, a lot of people, what they, their solution is kill, even in the parody movie of The Exorcist, instead of the pastor actually trying to help her, he just blew her head off. And that's not the way to go with it. Can you imagine if you're a mother and you call to a priestess? By the way, guys, it is very, very real that entities are hijacking you and your children. That's why they're acting strange and funny. A lot of people will say, oh, it's this person. Okay, the original time you'll say, oh, well, it's my enemy doing it. And then you go to your enemy and you'll say, ah, la, 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 la. And it's like, well, this is a lot bigger than, somebody that you may have had a beef with 5 years ago or 6 years ago. This is a lot deeper and a lot higher than what y'all think it is. And it is very dangerous, because when you think about people that have heart attacks, it comes out of the blue, doesn't it? It does. And so if you are in that energy to where the heart chakra is trying to get air, it's trying to breathe, but because there's a lack of real love, okay? It's a lack of the real stuff. Then that is what's harming people. You know, you can eat and eat, and you can eat the best food, you can eat a vegan diet, but if your heart ain't in the right place, and if you got demons roaming through your body, you're still gonna be very unhealthy. Okay. All right, guys, I gotta go. Love and light to y'all. I will see you all later. I am working on my schedule for tomorrow. So if you guys need to reach me for consultations, which I think that I've got one more for Sal Wayne, and then after that, you know, we'll be going into Yule energy for you know, we'll be out of because the full moon is we're actually in full moon energy now, but you know, probably you'll be looking more so going towards November, as far as, you know, when I'll be, you know, starting on your stuff. And it usually takes me about a week or so to get prepared for your work. So doing it in advance is important, you know, and a lot of people do that. The only one of my rituals that people kind of, you know, it is the cleanse, because cleanses will save you from demonic attack. Cleanses have saved many people from death, from losing their jobs. You know, those cleanses are very powerful as well. But if an issue keeps coming up, then that means that you have an ongoing problem. And the ongoing problem has nothing to do with witchcraft or healers themselves. They're not the bad guys, okay? The bad guys are the people that are emitting these frequencies to you every single day. And, you know, what do you do? What do you do about it? Well, and stuff, I've explained to you guys that boiling garlic, onion, and lemon, just put it on the stove and boil it, clear it all out, okay? And then that way you can think and you can say, okay, there's a situation here. And you know, so solving, you know, the world is never gonna solve their problems until they solve the spiritual problem. And you know, also a lot of these adults that you see walking around here, you know, they were raised and indoctrinated. And when you know that, then you don't have to necessarily get so upset about it to the point where you're getting your blood pressure up and you feel like, you know, it's something that you just got to calm down, because those energies are very, very, very toxic. And once you are a target, yes, they are trying to do a soft kill. They definitely trying to get you. Okay, and it's not the person. People are just possessed. Okay, yeah, there are some people that are actually a manifestation of a demon. I do believe that there are evil demons, and you know, and they have an agenda. Okay, but I believe that the people, you know, these narcissistic people, you know, they just don't want to show you their emotions. That doesn't make them evil just because they don't want to show you their emotions. But what you should be concerned about is the fact that the lack of the emotional connection, which is connected to the heart chakra, the sacral, the solar plexus, it's important in their therapy to pull that emotion out of them. The heck happened to this? Dang. Anyway, it's important to pull that emotion out of them, and it's good for them to feel emotion. It's good for them to cry. It's good for them to understand pain and to be able to process it. Okay. And so it just really depends, you know, so just like drugs, just like alcohol, just like cancer, People can heal from narcissism. Okay, even narcs. I'm deeply disturbed by people saying that you can't change them. Well, of course you can't change them, but they can change themselves. Okay, so people kind of, you know, in the narcs, they are very aware of the fact that they are the sacrifices, but so are the empaths. We are all in the same boat. Ain't nobody no special. Can't nobody sit up there and say that, because if you were you can sit up there and say, oh, I got it above these you know, narcs or whatever because I'm an empath, but y'all all facing the same spiritual battle. Okay, that's all it is to it. So I was one of them kind of people that was raised to help my neighbor. I wasn't the type of person that was raised to, you know, fear adversity, you know, and so. But I think that what we got from the world is what we got, and now we know more, and we need to do more. Okay, so I will see y'all later. Peace and love and light. Have a happy Tuesday. And I'll be back with the pumpkin carving. I just gotta get my floors washed and stuff over here. So I gotta go. Okay. Thank you for coming, y'all. And make sure that if you're watching through the playback, you hit that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Okay. See y'all later. Bye-bye.